Alright, good morning, good morning. I just felt like painting something with some oil-based stain. There's lots of ways to stain a board, but I'm going to use oil-based today. And here go some of the things I'm going to use. Alright, I'm going to put my gloves on. Okay, that took a long time. Now I'm going to stain my board. My board has already been sanded smooth with 150 grit sandpaper, and then I wipe it with a wet cloth, and I do 220 sandpaper to make sure that I get all the little hairs so it's like really smooth. Okay, so usually I use a brush to put my stain on, but today I am using a blue towel because it's what I have. And you see how light my stain is going on? This is actually black walnut. Yeah, it goes on a whole lot darker if your board is not sanded properly. Okay? So make sure you sand that board really well. Alright, so I'm eventually going to do both sides of this board, but just so you're not waiting around to see the finished result, I'm just going to do this one side. Okay? So I put the stain on, I rub it in really good, and then I went ahead here. I'll just use a clean one so you can see. And I wipe it off. And I'm going to show you how well I rub that stain in. There's hardly any stain on there, right? I use very little stain and I rub it in very well. Again, this is Minwax Black Walnut oil-based stain. A lot of people have issues with this. They say their vinyl won't stick. Well, you know what? I totally forgot to go and do the vinyl. So I'm just going to use whatever vinyl's already done. And I'm going to stick it on here. Okay, so I don't know what it's going to say today, y'all. Alright. Now, we're going to take that same clean blue cloth and wipe it down with alcohol. This is only 70 grain. I usually use the 91, but I don't have any right now, so I'm going to use what I have. Woohoo! Alright, and I'm going to wipe that oil away. You see that? All I'm doing is making sure that it is not oily. Alright, so if you give me a minute while this is drying, it's not going to take long. I'm going to go and grab a stencil to put on here. Alright, this is 831 stencil film that I use in my machine, and it says, I fight for. You can't see the R because I have blue tape over it. Okay, so this is 831 stencil film, and I have transfer tape already on it. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to make sure that transfer tape is on there really good. I'm going to do this video over because I needed to actually put something really cute on there. I made the pattern last night, but I did not get a chance. I'm only going to do I fight. Alright? Here, let me tear this off of there. Ugh, that's the hardest thing to do is tear this stuff. Let me grab the scissors. Sorry. Okay, and I'm going to put the top on this here, stain, so I don't have stain on my floor. Alright, so we're just going to cut I fight. Okay. So here goes I fight. And I am going to, that's the other thing, when you're rolling off your stencil, you want to turn it over upside down. And I don't just pull it up like this because you'll have pieces pop up with it. Instead, you push it down and you rub it as you're pulling it off. Alright? And then we're going to go ahead, I'm going to go ahead and stick it right around here. Make sure, oops, I'm stuck to it. Make sure that it's down really well. So far, all I've done is I've sanded my board really well with 50 and then 220. And then I went ahead and put the stain on, and you see how nice and light it went on. If you want it darker, let it dry for like, you know, this amount of time, 5-10 minutes, and then go ahead and go over it with another coat. If you want it dark, then don't sand it well. Just only do the 150, and then I don't know, knock it down a little bit with the 220, but not too much. Don't make it too smooth, and it'll be darker. All right. So I just put my 831 on here. And now I am going to peel the transfer tape off. And your transfer tape can be used over again. Well, I use mine over again. Alright, so now I'm using white paint, but the white paint I'm actually using is this. I just poured it into this container because it's easier to use. It stays closed when I'm traveling, and I don't have to worry about the top popping off, okay? So this is what I'm using. A lot of people just use the paint that comes in here. I guess that's fine. I'm not going to do it. Oops. So since I didn't have a little plate to put my paint in, I'm going to use the paper for my transfer tape. Alright. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to dry brush a little bit. You're dry brushing it so that the edges are sealed, okay? I know this is boring, hopefully not, but again, you want to make sure that your edges are sealed so that you don't have bleeding. You know, when you get done with your project and you have all these little places where the paint has seeped out, that's no fun. After you've taken all that time to sand it down and stain it and put all your heart and soul into this thing, you don't want to have to tell somebody, oh, watch out for that little bleed right there, and you don't want it to look homemade. Okay? Take that extra time and sand your wood properly so that it doesn't look homemade. Okay? I probably should have did the ribbon a different color, but too late now. Yeah, I don't like going over this color on stained wood. If it was painted wood, that would be different. No problem. And as you can see when I'm doing this, I'm just going in swirls. I go to the right, and then I go to the left. I just keep going in swirls, okay? and your brush cannot be super wet. That is not dry brushing. The purpose of dry brushing is to have the brush almost dry. Okay? Okay, I'm going to try and make sure that all my edges are sealed. It's going to be real pretty when we get done. Real pretty. Okay. Alright. So now, if you're doing this and you don't have this blue stencil, and you have another stencil, you need to make sure you tape your stencil down very well. Tape it down so it doesn't move, alright? And just be very, very careful. I would still try and dry brush it, or you can go ahead and start this process. This is a makeup sponge, okay? That's all it is. And sometimes what I do is I chop the makeup sponge up if I have to get into little letters and things like that and I don't want it to touch anything else, but that's not the case today. I'm going to go ahead and just use the big one. Alright, let's put that brush over there. Oh, let me show it to you real quick. Alright, and let's look. It's still a little bit wet, so I'm going to fan it. Because you want to make sure it's sealed. If it's still wet, that means when you put more paint on it, it's liable to go up under that stencil. And we don't want that. Okay? We want it as close to perfect as possible. Now I'm saying all this, but if I got some bleeds, don't even say nothing. Don't say nothing. Okay. And I'm deleting this after 24 hours because I'm going to do this over again. So make sure you get all your eyeballs. Look at everything you want to see. Alright, this board is dry now. It's been dry brushed. And now I'm going to put a little more paint. And I'm putting it on, and then I dab it off. Alright? I don't have a cameraman, so I'm going to hold it up now so you can see the difference. You see it's getting a little bit thicker. You see this side compared to this side, it's getting a little bit thicker. Well, that's what you want. You don't want see-through signs. You want to make sure they can see what the letters are. Okay? Alright. So I'm going to dab some more on. I dabbed on a whole bunch. And now I'm going to dab it off. Alright? Because I still don't want, I want to make sure there's no bleeds. So then I'm going to just go around. I don't wear makeup, so I don't know if this is what you guys do to your face. But if you dab it on and dab it off, but I guess look like you do your, no, don't wipe it. I've seen people do their faces. They wipe it. Don't wipe it. You don't want any chance that, whoops, we have a little clump. Take that clump off. You don't want any chance that you'll wipe paint up under. So don't forget, dab. Okay? Alright, so now you see I've dabbed. Well, I'm going to do it one more time, but I can't do it until it actually dries. If I do it again before it dries, all I'm doing is pulling the paint off. Okay? So, what I'm going to do again is fan it. Alright, it's not totally dry, but it's dry enough that I won't be picking up that paint when I go over it. All right, this is my last coat. Anyway, how's everybody's day doing? Well, I hope. Alright, this is it. And that didn't take much paint at all. Actually, it took less than the size of a quarter to do that. Alright, so usually if I'm having a paint party and I have people there, I always tell them the size of a quarter. And if you need more, then you get more. Or if you're going to do little pieces, I tell them the size of a dime. This helps me to keep my costs down, okay? And that's what I tell them. And that's the truth. Seriously, if I see them doing goo-gobs, the next time a person books a party, they're usually friends and family. So anyway, I can tell them whatever I want. But the next time they book, I go ahead and let them know I'm charging you extra because you don't know how to act. Anywho, I'm going to go ahead and completely dry this now. And actually, just so you're not sitting here while I'm fanning this thing, I'm going to go over to the blow dryer. Now, the blow dryer, you can blow dry this dry, but it needs to be on cool air. If you do it on hot or warm air, all you're doing is making your blue stencil get all tacky, and your paint is going to want to scrunch up and dry, not properly, whatever the word is, I don't know, improperly. I am getting ready to use my blow dryer. Alright, so now it is totally dry. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to peel this blue tape off. Peeling. Okay, so where are my glasses? I don't even know where they're at right now. I really cannot see well without them, but I'm going to go ahead and peel, and it's looking good to me. You see that? I'm going to show you in a second. Oh my goodness. Girl, I'll be over here cracking myself up. Okay, so look. You see how crisp and clean that looks? Oh my goodness. And this is oil-based stain. The purpose for using oil-based stain is because it's so much richer, you know? It's so much richer than everything else we do. Not that I don't do the other ways of staining. They have a purpose as well in my life. But this oil base, when I'm doing a wedding sign or, you know, something that's going to go to someone that may be, you know, I've done things for the Chamber of Commerce. Oh man, I just scratched my board, put paint on it. I've done things for the Chamber of Commerce and, you know, for people that are going to be displaying this art like forever. Yes, I called it art. So I want to make sure that the color does not wash out. And usually when you do the other methods, those colors usually wash out faster or easier. And, you know, everybody's talking about, do you seal it? And, not really. It just depends. If it's going outside, I'll seal it. If it's inside, this is so rich, I'm not worried about sealing it, okay? So, I'm going to let you look at it. I don't know if it's blurry to you. Let me see. Can I turn it around? Oh, it's still backwards. Alright. Can I get it any closer? Can you see that? There are no bleeding spots. Nothing's bleeding.